Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his Monday guest, Mr. Greg Dickerson. How you doing, sir?
Doing fantastic, Michael. How are you today?
I'm doing well, man. So thank you for that first conversation. The great deleveraging is something all of us need to be watching and thinking about. The fact that it has already started and it probably hasn't hit the radar of most people. Go back and watch video one from this morning, folks. It's I think it'll come out at 9 a.m. Pacific. It was eye-opening to the conversation. So thank you very much. What I want to talk about here is something that if you're not paying attention in the residential, this is very much a residential real estate conversation, pretty much an owner-occupant discussion. But Greg, there's something coming out that I will admit to being uneasy about. It will, in my opinion, inflate real estate even more, specifically residential. And that is the introduction of a 40-year mortgage as the new standard bearer for mom and pop to buy their home. So do you think that's possible? Am I just seeing the tea leaves wrong, or do you think a 40-year mortgage might come out?
Yeah, I mean, they've been talking about it for a while. We already have it in, multifamily. In the multifamily space, you can get 40-year debt. That's pretty much the only place. Other countries are doing it and have done it. So it'll be interesting to see if we go down that road. And, a lot of it will be in response to interest rates rising and the affordability, index of housing, increasing and getting out of control. But, as the markets change, prices change, things will reset. But yeah, a 40-year mortgage will generally drive prices because, again, it's all about your payment. So when you extend it out, your payment gets cheaper, but then you're paying way more for that property at the end of the day.
Interest.
But people will do it. I mean, look at car loans. Car loans are 7 years now when it used to be 2 to 3 years was the most you could get. And then look what happened to car prices. Cars are all about the payments. Now cars are almost as much as houses, and more, for a lot of them. I mean, I'm driving a standard SUV that, used to be around 50 grand, fully loaded, 55 grand. These things are 75 now.
Wow.
It's a Chevy Suburban, I've driven these things for a while, pickup trucks, so anyways, it's definitely going to affect the values. The question is, will lenders be on board with that? And I think as there's more appetite for yield, I think, again, financing is driven by banks. The interesting thing would be to look back and see when the 30-year mortgage was instituted and what that did to housing prices.
Yeah, I will look that up. I think the 40-year mortgage comes owner-occ. It will be driven by FHFA, Fannie, Freddie. And I think you're right. As you kind of laid out in episode 1, I think Powell, at least my opinion, I'm saying Powell's become Paul Volcker, which means he's going to accelerate the taper faster, raise interest rates, which will, you're absolutely right, hurt affordability. And one of the things that will come out of that is, all right, we'll give you, an extra 120 months, 10 years. And man, the interest collected on that is going to be, banks are going to make a lot of money. But yeah, I think the 40-year mortgage is coming. And when you do the math, I did the math. You have to make some assumptions, right? The interest rate will obviously, or I don't know, obviously, but probably higher. But when you do like for like, your property goes up 12% just by spreading out the payments. It was like, wow, could they really do something like that? And I think it's coming. And again, in the residential space, the first time I saw it was in the mortgage forbearance. It's one of the resolutions. Right, they're working with all these 4.8 million people who are in forbearance, and one of the outcomes is we'll give you a 40-year mortgage, lower your payment, good to go. So I think that's their test run, because I think it's like 7 or 8% of the mortgages gets resolved with a 40-year. And I don't know about you, but banks like to make money, and they're going to make so much more interest with 40-year mortgages. It's painful for me to say, but I think it's coming.
Yeah. And, there's a need for it. Again, there's a hunt for yield right now because interest rates are so low. There's been so much damage done by, the Fed policy, dipping into areas they have no business going into. And when you look at life insurance companies, pensions, funds like that need to earn on their capital in order to pay out claims, pay out, retirements. Those are the institutions that are funding mortgages generally and traditionally that, need that return, that can't get it anymore. So they're the ones that, are going to help drive that train. And I think we'll see it because there's just nowhere else for them to go. And especially with crypto doing what it's doing now, a lot of that institutional appetite for crypto is gone. I mean, when you see valuations get cut in half in a couple of days, that wipes out institutional interest quick.
Yeah, they don't like to see stuff like that. Yeah, billions of dollars, $1 trillion gone in 9 hours or something. I don't know, something crazy this Saturday morning. But yeah, I think the other thing that we're seeing today, obviously in residential, is Wall Street and insurance companies, to your point, are playing, because I'm seeing more and more calculations that they're getting a risk-adjusted return of 6%. And they're like, we can't get that anywhere else. So it's harder and harder for mom and dad to compete with Wall Street, who can write a check, right? Then
Oh
we
yeah,
have
California's largest pension fund. I can't remember, it was Cal something.
Yeah.
There was an article out last week about them. They need to earn 7% in order to sustain the pensions that they're paying
Wow.
out, and they're underwater. So they're having to look at more riskier assets, mortgages, real estate, things like that they haven't been investing in. So they're first, they're going to go after that multifamily space first. So that's where the liquidity will go. But once these instruments are created for the residential owner occupied space, and it's qualified borrowers, they're not going to do the subprime thing. You'll see more and more of that open up in the pipelines, and who knows, you might see 40, 45 years, because it makes more money for them, and it makes sense, and it helps people that can't afford a house if prices don't come back down. So I mean, 30-year mortgages, back in the day when I bought, man, you were paying 2.5 times for your house at the end of a 30-year period. It's not so bad now, but when I bought, interest rates were 9% when I bought my first house.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I think we're going to see a lot of kind of focus on owner occupants next year, because I think you're right. The Fed, again, video number one, they're going to pull back. It's going to cause all kinds of dislocations. And one of the outcomes is going to be owner occupants, mom and dad buying their first home buyers need some love, whether that's 40-year mortgage or first-time home buyer programs. I think all of that stuff's coming next year. So look out for that. Greg, how can people find you?
Yeah, gregdickerson.com. That's where my info is. YouTube podcast, all on gregdickerson.com.
Thanks, buddy.